Fill us in on the details.
Laura, a major trade between the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos that sends Jalen Waddle to the Broncos, a team that have been looking out for him since the trade deadline last year. Denver gives up a first-round draft pick, the 30th overall pick in this year's draft, along with a fourth-round selection. And in return, the Broncos get back Waddle here. Draft pick swap. Jalen Waddle becomes the newest weapon for Sean Payton and his offense. The Dolphins get back 3 picks in this particular trade, a 1, 3, and a 4. And the rebuild in Miami is underway here. They've got a lot of dead cap money. They've got a lot of roster questions, but they have a new regime coming in. They're going to be patient. They're going to do it the right way. And they added 3 draft picks today to give them double ones next month in Pittsburgh, along with 4 third-round draft picks in what many people, and Mel can attest to this, consider to be the heart of the draft.
Yeah, fascinating. There's so many different angles to this as we welcome you into the show. Dan Orlovsky's here. We got Mel Kiper Jr. It's a big day. We got mock draft action to get into. We'll get to that. Adam with us throughout the show. Dan, let's live on this trade. Starting with the Broncos side of things, how does Waddle fit there in that offense?
It was the number 1 hole for this football team. This is a championship caliber roster, and there's a case to be said. They don't really have a hole outside of like that true number 1 receiver that's a vertical guy. Cortland Sutton's been their number 1 guy, very good player, but he's a big-bodied person. And then you have younger players like Franklin and Bryant, but they're not really at that level. And Mims is a dynamic kind of gadget guy. Jalen Waddle's a 1. And so this makes so much sense for Denver, because if you're Denver, you're sitting there at the 30th pick, and we're in an area where people are saying this isn't the greatest first class potentially of all time. What player was Denver going to take at 30 that was going to truly impact this football team? It didn't exist. And so that's why for Denver to take that pick, send it to Miami, and get a true vertical stretch wide receiver essentially with the 30th pick of the draft. And this draft for a team that is a championship caliber team, it's a no-brainer and a very good move for Denver.
Yeah, you think about how close they were this past postseason. Bo Nix getting healthier. Had he been healthier, maybe they go a lot further. Adam, this makes you, though, say, okay, on the Dolphins side of things, you talked about rebuild mode for them. Why go sign Malik Willis in free agency and then trade away his top target? He may be sitting there thinking, if he didn't know about this, what's going on?
Because you have to field a competitive team. And the new Dolphins general manager, John Eric Sullivan, came from Green Bay. And the new the new Dolphins head coach, Jeff Hafley, came from Green Bay. And they want to start things over in their way. And Malik Willis gives them the ability to try to compete and try to stay competitive with the idea of somebody that they're comfortable with and that they believe in while they wait to build up that roster. And maybe Malik Willis does turn into their quarterback of the future. But if he doesn't, they certainly have enough draft picks that they could look to add an additional quarterback in the 2027 draft that is considered today to be quarterback rich. So, again, you can't throw away everything. You've got to field a team, and you've got to try to win games, and they're trying to do that, but they felt the value here by getting 3 draft picks back in return for a player who was already being paid a lot of money, who's already been around for a little while, was worth the gamble for this team to take at this time.
The Dolphins are building for 2028, so this is the right decision for them, even though Waddle's a very good player. I think they can get a draft wide receiver that they can build around earlier in the draft. But it does make me think, because there's been 2 teams, and you've heard me say this, that I've said, like, these are the great places for the Alabama quarterback, Ty Simpson. Arizona would be one, and Miami would be another. And I know they just paid Malik Willis. I know that. But given the timeline and given just the style of the quarterback with the style of offense that would be in Miami, at least under this regime, it makes me think, even though they signed Malik Willis, they should do their homework and entertain drafting Ty Simpson in Miami.
All right, Mel, I got to get your take on this. We're going to get to where Mel actually has Ty Simpson mocked, but what do you think of what Dan's pitching here, Ty Simpson for the Dolphins?
Depends on how you felt about Malik Willis both coming out and where he is right now. I liked him coming out of Liberty, formerly of Auburn. He was right there with Kenny Pickett. That could have gone either way at pick 20. And he dropped to the 3rd round, and he's turned out pretty good. And now Green Bay knows what he is and how he developed and how he prepares. And those teammates love Malik Willis. Now you got the GM and the head coach bringing him there. Give him a fighting chance, guys. Give him a fighting chance. And go get a receiver like Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State or Mekhi Lemon out of USC, obviously, they were expected to be gone by then. But you can get receivers, not just one. I'd get 3 in this draft. Take advantage of the quality at the top with the big 3. Get one of those guys, be it Tyson or Lemon, and then get 2 or more, because this wide receiver group is 45 deep. You get one in the 3rd round, that's outstanding, all the way into the 6th, 7th round. And some undrafted free agents will play in this league from that wide receiver spot. So they need them, and I think they get 3 via this draft. But it starts out maybe with Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon, and I think you have your young quarterback to build around in Malik Willis.
Yeah, they have all those 3rd-round picks. I mean, to Mel's point, that's going to be a really receiver-rich area.
Totally. I do. Wide receiver-wise, I still think that wide receiver for their first-round pick could be very much so on the board, because I do agree with Mel, Fighting Champs. I'm a little bit more of the Mekhi Lemon, Omar Cooper Jr. camp. I just think those guys have the competitive dog in them. They're Amon-Ra St. Brown, they're Puka Nacua, they're JSN in that regard. The only reason that I say Simpson may be on the back half of the 2nd round, because if you look at these receivers, and Omar Cooper Jr. is a phenomenal over-the-middle field guy. I don't care what you say about Mekhi Lemon's testing or press conferences. His tape is absolutely phenomenal. And the reason I like those guys is just you're building around them. And for either of those young quarterbacks, if it's a Ty Simpson for them or if it's Malik Willis, I do think that having that receiver to just be the reliable guy is a very big part.
I'm glad you brought that up about Mekhi Lemon, by the way. Like, watch the tape, people.
Just don't overthink football. He's a football player.
Bingo. We'll table that. We could get back to it later. But, Mel, you did release your latest mock. I've been teasing it. We've been talking about it. You had Simpson going to the Jets at 16. There's a lot here, by the way. We'll get into all of it. But I want to focus on that highlighted name there, Ty Simpson. What was the thinking there pairing him with the Jets?
Well, they made a lot of moves, and I think when you look at the New York Jets in that division, obviously you saw what Drake May was able to do. You got Josh Allen. To think about where we are right now with Ty Simpson, 15 starts, that's a dangerous, risky number. We all know that. But they have Geno Smith, and Geno Smith can be there as a starting quarterback to allow Ty to sit, watch, and learn. Remember, Jordan Love was developed not that long ago and sat for a while. That was the Green Bay's way of developing quarterbacks. Why can't Ty Simpson sit as well? I know he's 23 years of age, but minimal starts. Obviously beat up late this year, but up until that point, he was playing great football, despite no running game and an inconsistent offensive line. Receivers that were not catching everything thrown their way. So for the Jets, he wants to be a Jet. I think this is Frank Reich. Frank Reich drafted Bryce Young #1 overall when he became head coach at Carolina. If Frank Reich signs off and says, I love this kid, another Alabama quarterback. Remember, they drafted Joe Namath. They had Richard Todd. Now you get another one. But I think Frank Reich, guys, is key to this whole decision-making. If he loves Ty Simpson, why not at 16? What do you think? You get Arch or Dante next year? That may not work out that way. And who says, Arch wants to be a Jet? This kid does want to be a Jet. I know it's a graveyard for quarterbacks. We all know that. But for Ty Simpson at 16, I do think it makes some sense.
I mean, I think Ty Simpson's a better player than Dante Moore coming out right now. We'll see what Dante becomes next year. If Ty Simpson was 6'4", the Jets would take him at #2. I think his tape is that good. I think watching his tape on a week-by-week basis and watching him make NFL throw after NFL throw on these big ends, these deep crossing routes, the real passes, not the 3 or 4 yarders. If I'm the Jets and I like him, I agree with Mel. Take him. So what if you take him at 16 and he doesn't pan out this year? You have 3 first-round picks next year.
Take another quarterback?
You have to get it right, the Jets. You have 5 first-rounders in the next 2 years. The #1 goal is to find the quarterback in one of those 5 first-round picks. I don't care how you go about it or who it is. So if you take him this year at 16 and he doesn't play well, just take a quarterback next year and figure out the position.
Adam, I'm coming to you in a second. But
Laura, what was that look? Laura.
Well,
Laura, what was that
just
look
a lot
that
of
you made there just there?
quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks for Dan. Dan is suggesting, I mean, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm like, how many quarterbacks are we going to take here before we find them?
So you find them?
Okay,
as many as it takes.
Come on. I mean, you could build maybe your team a little better if you didn't keep doing that. I hear you. We're going to get into this more, but I do have one thing on Ty Simpson. You've talked a lot about how well he played in the early part, like through the first 8 games of the season. I completely agree with you. What have you thought about the tape in the latter part that has people questioning some things?
Yeah, I don't think the fall off is nearly as drastic as people make it out to be. The one area would be his play fell off when bodies were around him, around his feet, and I think the ball started to die on him a little bit. The only pushback I have to it is it's not an incapability thing. I watched him do it at a very high level the first 8 games. I just think you saw the team wear down. I think you saw him wear down, and therefore the chaos that he played in became a little bit more of a overwhelming thing, but that's not really a thing that is a concern for me. I have a body of work that is so good.
Yeah, they struggled in the run game. There were a
They're
lot of things
terrible
about
in the
that
run game.
Alabama
Drops
offense.
everywhere. I would make the case he
Agree.
carried Alabama for 2 months.
No, you can make that case. I was there for a lot of those games. I agree. But that's why I was curious what you would think. Adam, are the Jets going to do this? Are they going to take a quarterback this year, whether it's at 16 or 2, or it's not going to be a 2? But go ahead.
Yeah. I think the key thing to remember here is that the Jets have 3 first-round draft picks in 2027. They are loaded to bear in 2027. And again, nobody knows other than the Jets exactly what they're going to do. But I can tell you that in talking to people around the league, I think the feeling seems to be that the Jets will take a quarterback in this draft, but it is more likely to be in the middle rounds. To take a quarterback that they believe in, that they can develop. I think the people that I've spoken with, I think they'd be a little surprised to see pick 16 devoted to a quarterback, though the Jets certainly are capable of doing anything here, and there's still a lot of time between now and the draft. But the early signs that I'm reading right now would be that the Jets would wait in the first round on a quarterback and then come back and revisit it in the middle rounds, knowing that they have 3 first-round picks next year, their own, the Colts, and the higher pick of the Cowboys and the Packers in 2027, when the draft is supposed to be loaded with quarterbacks. Now, this draft was supposed to be loaded with quarterbacks. Right. Didn't exactly work out that way. But, again, next year the Jets have 3 ones. And the sense around the league right now, a little over a month out, is that they'll wait and they'll take a quarterback somewhere in the middle rounds, and we'll see if that turns out to be true.
The only 2 caveats I would throw into this as well. For everyone that's going 2027, I could give you 3 organizations right now that are just going to be empty the bucket all in on quarterback. So you better have the top 3 pick if you think you're going to get one of those potential guys.
Who are those? Jets?
I mean, you're looking at the Jets, you're looking at the Cleveland Browns, you could be looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So these organizations are going to be like, we have nothing for the future. So if you want one of these potential first rounders next year, if you have the 4th pick, good luck. The other thing is this. I do believe that there would be one most ideal setting for Simpson. I would say Arizona, trade back somewhere into the mid-teens, maybe early 20s, and select him there. I think that's the ideal place for that young man.
Yeah, and Arizona might be a candidate to do that for sure, although it's hard to think about who they'd miss out on if they traded back. But either way, maybe they get some good capital. All right, this is fascinating, and we are just getting started. There's a lot more to dive into, and these people are going to be here with you the whole way through. The Chiefs enter this year's draft with 2 first-round picks. That's rare for them of late. Find out why Dan believes this is the most important draft of the Mahomes era in Kansas City. And a bevy of NFL teams are lining up to draft running back Jeremiah Love. Mel's latest mock has all eyes on teams picking in the top 5. Will somebody go Love there early? I wouldn't blame him one bit. Here's a look at Mel's latest mock. We're diving into more of it right after this. Don't go anywhere. So many fascinating names and teams on this list. You don't want to miss it.
I love Love. I'm a hope.
Lord, the Texans have overhauled their offensive line and put an awful lot of energy, focus, and resources into it. The latest is Wyatt Teller, the former Browns offensive lineman who agreed to a 2-year, $16 million deal to go to the Houston Texans. He now becomes part of a remade offensive line there in Houston as they continue to make changes to try to protect C.J. Stroud. Wyatt Teller to the Houston Texans. And we mentioned yesterday the Kansas City Chiefs have acquired a backup to Patrick Mahomes, somebody to give them insurance in the event that Mahomes isn't ready for the start of the season, a quarterback in Justin Fields who will get the reps during OTAs and training camp as the starting quarterback, and also have a chance to help the Chiefs offense in a variety of ways even after Mahomes comes back. For Fields, on his 4th team in 4 years, now has gone from the Bears to the Steelers to the Jets to the Chiefs, and this may be an opportunity here in Kansas City for him to shine.
I liked what Adam said there about helping the offense even when Mahomes comes back. Dan, do you like this fit for Fields in Kansas City?
Yes, I'll start with the quarterback perspective of it because it gives Kansas City somebody in the offseason that at least can run their football team, who has starting experience. I don't see this as a Sam Darnold resurgence or a Daniel Jones resurgence or a Baker Mayfield resurgence. But Justin still is an incredibly talented athlete, and I think it's going to come to the point once Patrick becomes back into the fold of, are you willing to play a little bit of a Taysom Hill role where we can build more than just a package? We can truly build a section of our offense around you. And it's not just we're going to make you be just an athlete, but we're going to put you in situations. Sometimes you will be an athlete. Sometimes we can use the creativity and you'll still play that quarterback role. I think if Justin's willing to do that, and it doesn't mean that it has to be his long-term future, but at least entertain accepting that, specifically at a place in Kansas City like with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, I think it could have tremendous impact on the long-term potential of his career.
I mean, you know what Bieniemy wants to do in the run game? It's a really interesting suggestion, and it does make you then turn toward the draft and think about what they're going to do. They've got the 2 picks in the first round. So let's go back to Mel's mock. The Chiefs had those 2 picks in round 1. Who do you have them taking, Mel?
A lot of neat areas, Laura, no question about that. But Ruben Bain Jr., I believe, is the toughest evaluation of any of these first-rounders. Why? Because he's a great football player in college. He's a warrior. Tremendous hand usage, great angles getting after the quarterback. But questionable arm length, 40 time, all those things, those measurables that you want make him an outlier. So can he translate what we saw at Miami into success in the NFL? Somebody like the Chiefs may roll the dice that he can early on in that top 10 to 15. Cornerback, obviously a big need. Brandon Cisse is talented. He's gifted. When NC State to South Carolina had a solid year in coverage, he's going to test off the charts, 41 vertical. He's got the kind of length you want, and he studies the game, passionate about that. Teammates raved about Brandon Cisse's work ethic. He's that long, athletic corner that John Schneider in Seattle love. I just don't think he'll be there at 32. I think he goes a little earlier, maybe to the Chiefs at pick number 29.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on what they do, and it's interesting, too. I mean, there's been a ton of change for this Chiefs team. Guys, a little peek behind the curtain. We had to come back over the desk. That's why you're just seeing Mel on the screen. You guys should show us walking over and see who walks better, but I guess we're not going to do that.
Gait.
All right, Dan. It was better, though, to just see Mel the whole time. Dan, how important is this draft for the Chiefs, giving all the changes? They've made some key adds, Kenneth Walker being the highlighter of that, but there's a lot that needs to change,
I think it's the most pivotal draft of the Mahomes era. This roster right now has some significant holes that we know about, and this is coming off of a couple years when those holes have been exposed. I love the Ruben Bain addition. When I think of Ruben Bain and George Karlaftis, I go, having to play against that as an offense, relentless pass rushers. And that was really the problem last year with this defense was they could not get off the field in meaningful downs. They couldn't get to the quarterback, and they couldn't cover up the right way. We know that there's an issue opposite Karlaftis as a pass rusher. When Karlaftis and Chris Jones are on the field, it's a good pass rush. It's got to get great once again, Ruben Bain. Cisse, I love the fact that you're addressing the cornerback issue. I mean, look at the impact of these 2 guys on the field, and then when they're not one of them on the field, this is a very bad pass rush unit. They've got to correct that. I would tell you that I know it's not part of Mel's mock, but I love Kenyon Sadiq there.
Ooh,
there needs to be a more reliable number 2 pass catching option.
Yeah.
There just needs to be. And I know he's a little bit more of a straight line athlete, and maybe not this lights out football player, but I think of Sadiq to Kansas City with Andy Reid and the creativity as the next part from Kelsey.
Mel, I heard you say this just a little while ago that Kenyon Sadiq is one of the most talked about players right now. What do you think about the fit there for Kansas City?
It's a great fit, Lauren. Then I thought about getting him to Kansas City because he's going to go high. I think Baltimore could be in the mix, certainly, and I thought Tampa Bay definitely could be a place for Brandon Sadiq. He is a tremendous young man. His football IQ in those interviews was through the roof. And then you talk about what he did on the field. The tape is outstanding. The athletic ability, he's still very young and developing. He will be a major league fear factor weapon in the NFL. And for Kansas City at pick number 9, I don't think it's too early.
Kansas City, by the way, the current favorite to win the AFC West at DraftKings Sportsbook. So the books are telling us that they're going to get it all figured out. They're going to be right back there. Patrick Mahomes is going to get healthy. Justin Fields is going to bridge the gap.
They better hit this draft because Denver and the Chargers are better right now. So.
Okay, but Dan, they got the 2 first-round picks.
Well, Laura, the Denver Broncos were making calls about Jalen Waddle's availability before the trade deadline last year. Those talks continued for the last 10 days. And over the last few days, the 2 sides were trying to figure out the right combination of draft picks that would be exchanged today that wound up with Waddle coming to Denver with a 4th-round pick and a 1, 3, and 4 going back to the Miami Dolphins, who are now loaded with picks in this upcoming draft. Meanwhile, we continue to await some sort of solution in the A.J. Brown scenario. And the A.J. Brown scenario is such where basically he is in a situation where the Eagles have been open about talking to other teams. They have been insistent and adamant they will not trade him unless they get an offer that they can't refuse. They have not gotten that yet. Plus, there's the issue of the salary cap money. If they traded him before June 1st, it would be $40 million against their cap right away, as opposed to after June 1st, when it will be split up $20 million now, $20 million later. And while we await a solution for A.J. Brown, the Eagles reached agreement today with Hollywood Brown on a one-year deal, so they add another wide receiver, a low-cost risk investment, some speed to get into the Eagles' wide receiver room after they lost Jahan Dotson in free agency. So Dotson moves on. They replace him with Hollywood Brown as the number 3 wide receiver. So they add Hollywood Brown while we wait to see a resolution on A.J. Brown.
Okay, we're going to ask you about this like every day until something happens, Adam. And one of these days you're going to have something, whether he's staying or going. Yeah, I love it. Dan, what do you think about the possibility of A.J. Brown being traded now that we know a little bit more about where some of these other receivers have gone?
Yeah, it sounds like it's more than likely the post-June 1st because of his salary cap hit move. I would say this, if you're Philadelphia, where is the pass rush help coming from? Since you lost Jalen Phillips, that has not been addressed yet. And maybe you could address it in the draft. But for an organization that has been one of the best pass rush organizations in the NFL over the past couple of years, as great as A.J. Brown is, and I still believe he is great, let's live in a world where a month from now in the NFL draft, specifically early on, they aren't able to get a pass rusher. So then are they going to go into the season without pass rush help? No. And I think then it becomes an even greater conversation of, okay, New England, are you willing to part? Okay, Baltimore, are you willing to part? Maybe the Chargers, are you willing to part with maybe a first and or second round pick for A.J. Brown? Because if Waddle today goes for a first and plus, A.J. Brown's certainly going to go for more.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, it drove his market up a little higher.
There's no doubt about it.
I do wonder if a lot of these teams are saying, well, wait a second, this is a receiver-rich draft. Maybe we can get a guy, not maybe even the first round, but after that. Mel, you already told us about Jordan Tyson going to the Dolphins. Let's look at where some of the other receivers went in the latest mock. Mel, start us off with Carnell Tate, believed to be the best of this class by many.
Yeah, he is, Laura, and he's polished. He's ready to go coming out of Ohio State. The route running, the hands, the concentration. He blocks as well. And for the New Orleans Saints, again, I thought about the Giants at 5. I thought about Cleveland at 6. But to go to New Orleans with Tyler Shuck, to have Chris Olave, this Ohio State wide receiver situation has been really good in the NFL. These guys come in right away and produce, and Carnell Tate is NFL ready. The Saints at this point, remember, Jeremiah Love we thought could be there. He's not going to be there, and they made the move for a veteran running back. So at the end of the day, this pick makes sense if he's there, and I think there's a possibility he won't, but if he is, lock it in.
Yeah, I love Tate to the Giants at 5. Carnell Tate has got a little bit of George Pickens in his game, where he's that long, rangy, unbelievable basketball, go up and make a play on the football skill set, not necessarily going to blow people away running by them, but feels like he catches anything remotely close thrown to his body, some of the search catches that George Pickens is notorious for. I look at a Giants offense and I say, okay, you have Isaiah Likely and you compare him with Malik Neighbors, then the second-year quarterback Jackson Dart's got something to do. I do. If he is available for the Saints at 8, I love him there as well. I like Tate.
Mel, in the later part of the first round, you have Mekhi Lemon going to the Browns. How does he fit there?
This is contingent, Laura, upon the Jets. If the Jets don't take Ty Simpson, and Adam suggested maybe they won't, then Mekhi Lemon could go there. If he gets past there, and I'm Cleveland, I'm trading up. I got to get Shedeur Sanders, a guy who can catch the ball. Shedeur showed excellent promise this year, a quarterback for the Browns. Mekhi Lemon can catch the ball, something Browns receivers had a tough time doing at times this year, right? So he's also an outstanding return man. We'll set him up in good field position as well. This kid plays fierce. If he gets in that middle area of the first round, and I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to be aggressive and go up and get Mekhi Lemon.
Yeah, this would be the receiver that I would take first, probably, if I was an NFL football team. He's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Unbelievably physically tough, strong hands, catches everything with his hands. He can go deep and make plays on the football. He's a very good route runner. I can get him touches down in the red zone. He's got a great understanding for change of pace and space. This is a situation I don't think you'll overthink this player. His tape is phenomenal. I don't care what he tested at. He's a great football player. You take him.
By the way, just those highlights alone, I mean, come on. And there's so many more like that. We've turned into Mekhi Lemon fans on this show, but it makes sense. Okay, the final receiver in this mock, Mel has the Patriots taking KC Concepcion. I love this. I mean, Mel, we've talked about A.J. Brown getting traded there, but maybe they go this route in the draft, and that helps in a big way.
Laura, explosive is how you describe Casey Concepcion. The minute he stepped on the field at NC State for the Wolfpack, he was a big-time player. Then he ends up at Texas A&M. You see the ability after the catch, dynamic. Also a tremendous punt returner. Drake May will love to have a Casey Concepcion added to that New England Patriot offense.
Yeah, the only question I have, Mel, with Concepcion, and I was talking with Field Yates a little bit about this, is just not that big frame. For a first-round receiver, I'd like a little bit more of a frame. In New England, I know there's Kayshon Boutte. Does he fill that, Stephon Diggs role, even though they've signed Romeo Doubs? So I like the player, really good, explosive player. But the frame thing, I think, has got to be at least something that is talked about for him in New England.
And as you may have noticed so far in this show, we're also big Kenyon Sadiq fans. Mel, you have another pass catcher in the first round of your mock going to the Bucs. Why tight end Kenyon Sadiq here?
People say, well, hey, K. Dotton's back. Kenyon Sadiq, I would just say, when I said Casey Concepcion explosive, I would say Kenyon Sadiq weapon, okay? He's the kind of guy, matchup nightmare. You can move him around, inline, H-back, all over the place. This kid is a big-time athlete. He keeps developing as a football player. His knowledge of the game wowed people over. They were amazed. And I think when you look at Kenyon Sadiq, he's ready to go despite his age. Not a big factor. But Ferguson was there, remember, at Oregon a couple years ago. He's with the Rams now. Kenyon Sadiq is rising up draft board. And we've got a ways to go until we get to April 23rd. And Kenyon Sadiq, I think, deserves to be and will be in the top 15 of this draft.
Yeah, and of course, you got to think about the 2026. That was an interesting way to say that. Season without Mike Evans. Okay, it's going to be the first time since 2013 that they haven't had him there. Young wideouts Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, they're expected to take bigger roles within this Bucs offense, while the team will also lean on veterans Chris Godwin, K. Dotton, as we just heard Mel mentioning, as well as running back Bucky Irvin. And Dan, what do you think of Sadiq for the Bucs?
I like him. I like him for Tampa. You pair him with K. Dotton, Zach Robinson, who's their new offensive coordinator, who comes from Atlanta, just had experience with Kyle Pitts. The only thing I would say, Mel, is where does the pass rush come back for Tampa? That's an area that Tampa has been searching for. It's something that Todd Bowles is notorious with. They had to pressure so much more last year, and they were inconsistent in it. As much as I love the player, I question for Tampa, is that player more impactful than trying to find that pass rush help to try to get this defense under Todd Bowles back to what it used to be a couple years ago?
Yeah, so Mel, are there edge rushers in that range for the Bucs that you could see him taking?
Dan, Laura, it would be Ruben Bain Jr. if he gets down into this mix. And he could, because there's some teams that think he's a late first rounder, not a early to mid. So there's wide range of opinion. Very polarizing is Ruben Bain Jr. because of the arm length and the speed and the concern he's just a great college player, will run into some resistance in the NFL. If he's around, I will also say for the Bucs, Muhammad comes in from Detroit. 11 last year opposite Hutchinson. So Muhammad comes in. Diaby had 7 sacks. So with Muhammad and Diaby, you got a shot there to have some edge rushers and get after the quarterback. But certainly if Bain Jr. was there and Sadiq were there, it would be an interesting discussion. But he's the only edge rusher I could see at that point that would maybe make some sense.
I mean, listen, you can talk to me about the arm length of Ruben Bain Jr., but I'm just saying if he gets disrespected in his mind going later in the first round, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder so big. It could be a real benefit for whomever takes him. A lot of gold this offseason. Mel is here to help. Look at Mel and the red beard. It looks amazing. Mel, you're going to highlight some players that you think would be lucky for teams to get in the draft. So, Mel, give me a player that would be a good value in each round 1 through 4, and then I want to get your take on how you look with that beard.
Well, I'll work on that for the 2027 draft in D.C., Lauren and Dan. But I'm going to go here with Peter Woods in the first round. If he gets down to 22 to the Chargers or in the 20s, quick, strong, athletic, versatile. He went into this year back in August. We thought maybe top 5 overall. Why is he dropping? He didn't have the production you expect for a kid with that kind of talent. Doesn't have the longest arms, but a defensive tackle, it's not a big deal. Why? Because centers and guards don't have the longest arms either. I think if he gets into the 20s, Peter Woods would be a heck of a pick, maybe for the Chargers at 22. Hey, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. Nobody's a bigger Fighting Irish fan than I am. I'm going to go to the Irish, formerly of Virginia, Malachi Fields. Big, he high points the ball. Louis Riddick doesn't want to watch tape of that Pitt game because he wowed over everybody in that game, destroyed the Panthers, had a heck of a year, didn't run great, could get pushed into the second round. If he does, he's a heck of a pick as a power forward type guy. Would have been a first had he run a little bit better. Here's a guy in the 3rd round you'd be very lucky to get. And running backs do get lost in the shuffle a bit. Mike Washington Jr. went from Buffalo, New Mexico State. Didn't do anything great. Did, though, play great at Arkansas. 6'1", 223-pounder, ran 4.33, had averaged over 6 yards a carry, had 28 receptions. He was a dynamic performer for the Razorbacks. But here's a guy you want a slot corner who's super smart, great football IQ. He'll tackle. He's instinctive. He's got great ball skills. That's Chandler Rivers out of Duke as a slot corner. You get this kid into the 4th round. Are you kidding me? He's going to play a lot of good football in the NFL. D'Angelo Ponce from Indiana, we're saying 2nd round. You get Rivers in that 3rd or 4th round area. He's one whale of a value pick. He is NFL ready with the mindset and the smarts and all that production with the Duke Blue Devils.
I love this, Mel, and that was so worth doing. Another reason why we did it is I wanted a chance to call Dan a tall leprechaun because that's what you look like today, Dan. Can we see your socks? He's got. Have you guys seen these socks out there on the television? Yeah.
These are Shamrock socks. My wife is an Irish girl. Maiden name is Lesher.
Tiffany.
I think her grandmother's maiden name is McFarland.
Yeah. Well, I'm McKeeman, so I've got some.
McKeeman?
I got a lot of Irish going
on. Oh, that's right.
My dad actually has an Irish passport. That's how Irish I am.
Really? Have you been to Ireland?
No, I've only been to Scotland. I didn't mean to be like a Tommy Topper on who was more Irish, but I went. Okay, speaking of the Irish, Mel, Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love in your latest mock, going number 4 to the Titans. I love this. Why did you put him there?
Why not, Laura, right? Why not? I mean, you talk about Cam Ward developing into a franchise quarterback. Have this guy right in that backfield, and you can put him in a slot, you can put him wide. Touchdown waiting to happen. I always bring up that Tony Dorsett 99-yard scamper against the Vikings on a Monday night. Jeremiah Love can do exactly that. He can go 70, 80 yards in a blink. This guy is a dynamic player. Love the fact he doesn't fumble the ball. Great ball security, great hands. Great young man. Tennessee, you can say it's a luxury pick all you want. It's not. This kid's going to come in right away, help this football team. They made a lot of additions via free agency, made the trade here and there. So bottom line is you can look at this particular point in the draft and say, well, why not Sonny Styles? And I thought about Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, but I think Love, too versatile, too valuable. He's the best or second best player in this draft. You're picking 4. That's the kind of guy you got to select at that point.
To be clear, I do not think this is too high for Jeremiah Love. Dan, do you think that number 4 is too high for him?
No, I've said 3. You can make the case at 3 for Arizona. I love Jeremiah Love going to Tennessee at 4. And for everybody who's like, don't take a running back early unless he's the final piece, the most important thing in Tennessee this year is for Cam Ward to take a big step and lead into year 3 with the new stadium coming. So they sign Wan'Dale Robinson in free agency, but you now have a back that is a home run hitting back. He's Jamal Charles with a sprinkle of Jahmyr Gibbs. Great patience through the hole and then burst. Touchdown waiting to happen. Home run waiting to happen. You've got Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a nice slot receiver. You still have Calvin Ridley on the outside that's been a little bit up and down. Where's the dynamic piece for Cam Ward to take the second step at? They spent a ton of money in free agency. That's not the most important thing in Tennessee. Have a good defense. Great. That's not going to get anybody excited for your football team next year. What will is Cam Ward taking the next step. The best way for that to happen, put as many good offensive weapons around him. There's no question about it. If he's available at 4, you justify taking him.
This just hit me as you're saying this. It almost reminds me of Jacksonville taking Travis Hunter last year. Like that sort of got the excitement going. I realize different player, but you think about like what excites a fan base too. I get you're making word about Cam Ward, but yeah, right. Like we got this.
Get a playmaker.
Travis Hunter may not have been the reason why they had the season that they had, but still, like it shows how invested they are. Adam, what are you hearing about where Love could land?
Look, Jeremiah Love's going to be a top pick. I personally think when you talk to people around the league, 4 to Tennessee might be a little high, especially when you consider the pass rushers in this draft. The strength of this draft seems to be some of these top pass rushers. Arvell Reese, Bailey, some of the guys out there, Ruben Bainmel was talking about. And this is a defensive-minded head coach in Robert Saleh. This is a team that still needs defensive help. And this team, I think, feels like to get people excited in Tennessee, all they have to do is win football games. And the best way to win football games is to play good defense. And the best way to play good defense is to dig into the heart of the draft and go with a pass rusher, one of the top pass rushers at that spot at number 4. Look, Jeremiah Love, they've already had him in for a visit. He'll obviously be a consideration, but I think when you talk to people around the league, I think that pick at 4 might be today a little bit of a surprise.
Man, Adam throwing some truth serum on our excitement.
The best
Adam, I
player
love
in football games is to score more points than the other team.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get in like a full-on football debate here, but yeah, okay.
I know how football works, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. Dan, were you mansplaining Adam there?
I'm so salty.
You made him salty. He wasn't salty until you said that, although I might have gotten us there. All right, coming up next.